my gosh. Let me turn our little sounds down right here. Turn down even more. There we go. Well, hello there, Mox. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad that you made it here, and I'm glad that you're first. I appreciate your highlighting your message, too. So, it is 7:30 on the 9th of April in 2022, and I welcome you guys back to Cast Talks. So you might be sitting there, wherever you are, whenever you are, thinking to yourself, what is this show? What is this? And if you are not sure, if you don't know what's up, well, I'll tell you. This is a little show called Cast Talks. And what we do here is absolutely the smallest amount of 8:30, 7:30 for me. 7:30 CST. We do the absolute smallest amount of really anything. It's sort of just a time to lay back and let me read out some nice stories to you and get involved in chat if you'd like to as well. And on top of that, if you're interested, I'm also going to show a couple of animal videos, but mostly it's going to be me reading you good news. Let me turn myself up a little bit. There we go. It's a little better. But yeah, today is a pretty nice day. I have been mostly hanging out, and oddly enough, I had a magical moment with what basically was a therapy animal to me. I was at the nearby animal shelter, and I happened across a lovely animal named Mike. Well, howdy there. How you doing, Rain? Glad you could make it. And this therapy animal actually comforted me for a good 25 minutes of just sitting together and holding each other. And I have to say, after having that experience, I actually get it now, why people have therapy animals, because it did change me for the better. I would even say it cured and lifted a lot of my anxiety. It's sort of one of those moments where you don't even know it was possible until you're there. But honestly, animals, they can have a huge impact on a person's well-being, and I mean, this one had a pretty big impact on mine. So I honestly can only say it was a great thing. But that is not the main reason we're here. We are here to hear good stories, and we are here to hang out and have a nice time. Take a nice drink of our nice tea. This is actually a tea for keeping your voice when you're in the middle of reading. So I'm happy about that. So, let me know how you guys are doing, Moss and Wolf. Let me know if you had a good week. Looking to hear about that. So, our first good news story. Woman ensures the safety of passengers by waving her red sorry to stop a train after spotting a broken track. And here is, in case you're interested, in the stream chat on the Discord if you would like to read it yourself. Where did it go on my computer? There it is. A brave woman may have saved hundreds of lives in India, waving her red sari to stop a train. It's spelled S-A-R-I, by the way. After spotting broken tracks further down the line, Omvati Devi waved the flowing red garment in front of an approaching train after noticing part of the line was faulty. Spotting the woman, the driver was able... No worries, boss, it's fine. Spotting the woman, the driver was able to stop the train just in the nick of time, avoiding potential disaster. Omvari's quick thinking benefited from 150 to 200 passengers aboard the train in Uttar Pradesh, India. The woman who's been praised for her heroic actions was quoted in a SWNS report as saying, "I was on my way to land for routine work, and it was then when I stumbled to found a broken track. I was quick to realize that this could result in a massive tragedy. Well, I had a heart. I had heard a lot that red stands for danger. If you'd like to see the actual break in the railroad, I will show you. Though I must warn you, it's a pretty big break. It's a pretty big break." So, it looks like to me, and I'm not really sure how this happened, but there might have been a compromised weld right there, because it looks like somebody was trying to sand it down or polish it down, but usually a fracture like that doesn't just happen, because, I mean, those girders are tough. Those girders are real tough. I don't know what could have caused that. Maybe something crazy, because those things are pretty tough to damage. Maybe it's just from overuse, though. But it does look like a manufacturing error to me. I used my sari to tie it around the track to thwart any untoward incident, which luckily did work when the driver applied brakes. The driver offered her 100 rupees, but she turned it down. Then he insisted that I keep the money, which I did. Good for her. I mean, you know, it's good to let people know when they've done a good job by supporting them financially. I have never been on a train before. Honestly, I have never traveled by train. I have traveled by bus plenty of times. I used to be in a marching band, so I was so accustomed to riding on buses, and even on top of that, I was very accustomed to going on charter buses too. But, I mean, really, when I'm just telling you right now which I would prefer, I don't think any of them are very good. But if I had to spend 15 hours traveling, I suppose traveling by charter bus is effectively better, simply from the comfort of having a bathroom and the comfort of having seats that can deploy in different positions and the comfort of having like a mini fridge in some of them as well. But all of that fanciness doesn't really fix the issue that much. It just makes the kind of unbearable travel on a bus more bearable. But your butt will get uncomfortable at some point, and there's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. That's just the nature of traveling by bus. So, our next good news story. Texas researchers use okra to remove microplastics from wastewater. Oh, wow. Tarleton State University researchers have demonstrated that food-grade plant extracts, especially those from okra, have the power to remove microplastics from wastewater. Wow. The health effects of ingesting microplastics are unclear, but studies suggest that people unintentionally consume thousands of particles every year. They can be released from your clothing in the washing machine and end up in the city water treatment facility. In the typical... You said they used okra, no, okra. O-K-R-A, as in the vegetable. In the typical wastewater treatment process, microplastics are removed from water by adding flocculants, or sticky chemicals that attract microplastics and form large clumps. The clumps then sink to the bottom of the water and can be separated from it. You just grab them out. Dr. Srinivasan, the endowed Munson Research Professor of Chemistry at the Texas University, and her team have been investigating more healthy alternatives to the commonly used flocculent polyacrylamide. We think that microplastics by themselves may not be much of a health hazard, but anything they get into or on, or any type of toxic substance that gets attached to them, could go inside of our bodies and cause problems. Now, Moss, you do not need to say sorry for that, believe me. If it was Oprah, I wouldn't have minded either. Said Associate Professor Dr. Rajani Srinivasan, the principal investigator for the project. That is a particularly more difficult to say name than we usually get here, but we do get some difficult words sometimes with all the science that shows up on this show. There we go. I gotta lower my desk. It's much better. She has studied the use of food-grade plant extracts as non-toxic flocculants to remove textile-based pollutants from wastewater. I was working with the removal of microorganisms and things like that, and I thought, why not try microplastics? So she and a team of undergraduate and environmental science masters students tested polysaccharide extracts from 7 plants: fenugreek, cactus, aloe vera, okra, tamarind, and psyllium. They even tested fungus. Wow. They tested compounds from the individual plants as well as in different combinations. They found that polysaccharides from okra worked the best. Paired with fenugreek extract, microplastics could be removed from ocean water, and the okra paired with those from tamarind worked best for freshwater samples. Overall, the plant-based polysaccharides worked better than or as well as the traditional flocculent polyacrylamide. Importantly, the plant-based flocculants can be implemented in existing water treatment processes, so you can just use them whenever you want to. Cool. The whole treatment method with the non-toxic materials uses the same infrastructure, said Dr. Srinivasan. We don't have to build something new to incorporate these materials for water treatment purposes. She and her team will continue tailoring the ratios and combinations to optimize removal of different microplastics from a variety of water sources. They also plan to scale up the removal process in field studies outside the lab. Ultimately, they hope to commercialize the method and remove microplastics from water on an industrial scale. The study and its results, funded by the National Science Foundation and a water development district in Lubbock, were presented at the March 20 to 24 spring meeting of the American Chemical Society. Well, lovely. Honestly, I'm pretty happy we're coming up with some strange and innovative ways to figure out how to get rid of the microplastics, because they probably will be a problem in the future. Yeah, I've actually tried okra. I'm not too into it myself, if I'm being honest with you, but I wouldn't be mad if it became this useful. It's just, I think that it's not the tastiest fruit or vegetable. I don't even know what it is, I suppose. But comparing to other pieces of vegetable, I would say I would take okra over cucumber probably, but as opposed to some of the other things that I've had in the past, it's not so bad if you fry it, but I feel like if you fry it, you're basically just making the breading, and you're just sort of covering up the okra, which feels like cheating to me. But I guess if you don't eat it, you can use it for something else. So let's get back to it. That's right, I tried okra last at a rib shack. Wow, it's a long time ago. Gardening Dad just broke world record for growing 1,269 tomatoes on a single stem in his tiny greenhouse. No, Jeremy Cucumber steals all of Cassius's cucumbers. Well, that's okay, you can have them. I don't mind. Cucumbers are very good for you. I don't think I like the taste of them very much, to be honest with you, but welcome on in, Jeremy. I'm so happy you could make it. And I'm also happy that you're here and very covetous of my cucumbers because I've got plenty to go around. It's okay if you have them. And I hope that you're having a very lovely day. I know you've been going through some stressors recently, so I hope this helps you. Look at this man with all of his different tomatoes. A gardening dad has been named a champion for the second time. You can't have all the okra. I can't stand this stuff. A gardening dad has been named a champion for the second time after claiming another title for harvesting 1,269 tomatoes from a single stem. Douglas Smith previously hit headlines in 2020 when he grew the UK's tallest sunflower of 2020 at 20 foot. Oh my gosh. It towered over his family home. I want to see what this looks like. I don't really care that much about it, but I am curious. Oh, it's not like a giant beanstalk flower. It's just a very tall flower. Okay, cool. It doesn't look very good, though, honestly. It looks like it's kind of withering, so I'm not going to show that. Cucumber cracker sandwich is good with pickles, mayo, and cheese. I believe you, but I don't think I'll be trying that. But thank you for giving me the recipe. It's got an awful lot of things on there that I'm not into, unfortunately, but I hope that it does great things for you. Glad to hear you got that for you. This time, the 43-year-old grew almost 14 pounds of red tomatoes, weighing 6.2 kilos. Moss can have some too. Which earned him official recognition by the Guinness World Records last week. Commenting on his latest world record, Douglas said he was really pleased with the amazing tomato harvest. According to SWNS News Service, the previous record for the most tomatoes on a single truss was 488, achieved by a Shropshire man in 2010. Douglas of Stansted Abbots, Herts, has explained how he spent hours poring over scientific research papers to perfect his cherry tomato growing techniques. You have to make sure the environment is well set up, he said. He sent examples of soil to labs to make sure the plants had exactly what they needed. I spent 3 or 4 hours a week tending to the tomatoes in a 8x8 foot greenhouse in my back garden. Douglas, who lives with wife Piper, 45, and son Stellan, 6, culled a number of plants down to 2. After counting the fruit on the first plant, he tallied 839, but then the second vine had an even higher number, 1,269 little red gems. That's a lot of tomato. Look at that. You could probably make a big old salad with that much tomato. The biggest Caesar salad in the world. The IT manager says this summer he plans to tackle 2 more world records, starting with a lot of spaghetti sauce, you're right. Starting with the one for the most tomatoes on a single plant, a record currently at 1,355, claimed by a Coventry man in 2013. I need this right now. You need some what? Some popcorn? Or some tomato? Or some spaghetti sauce? Douglas, that's weird it started that way. He also wants to set a new garden P record, but refused to give further details. You're supposed to be eating right now. Well, give it a shot if you want to, but refused to give further details in fear of other veg growers trying to beat him to it. The man is very mysterious with all of his vegetable secrets, so perhaps we should abide and simply let him do his thing in silence. I have recently planted quite a few little tiny flowers. I had a seed packet of 1,000 seeds, and I planted all of them. It was wonderful. And now I've got little sproutlings showing up. My little tiny sproutlings. And they are beautiful, honestly. I think the world of them. I only hope that they get to bloom soon. I'm thinking about putting, like, some vinegar, or maybe milk even on them, but I don't know what I should use for wildflowers. If anyone has any suggestions, I'd be willing to hear it, but I'm just slightly against the idea of feeding them anything, but I guess I shouldn't be. Jeremy, if you have an idea, I'd love to hear it, because I know that you're very adept at growing things from what I know. Unless I have misheard. MIT researchers reverse hearing loss by regenerating inner ear hair growth. No? Oh, okay, no. A spinoff from MIT Frequency Therapeutics as a new drug candidate that stimulates the growth of hair cells in the inner ear. Oh, okay. Growing wildflowers, yes. Yes, Rain, that's exactly what I mean. Most of us know someone affected by hearing loss. I actually knew someone in my time in the behavioral ward who was very cool, but actually was deaf in both ears, unfortunately. But we may not fully appreciate the hardships that lack of hearing can bring. Hearing loss can lead to isolation, frustration, and a debilitating ringing in the ears, known as tinnitus. It's also closely correlated with dementia. I could see why. Not being able to hear probably makes that worse. The biotechnology company, Frequency Therapeutics. What kind of flower or plant? Nice Anna emote. It's just a wildflower packet, so it's a bunch of different kinds of flowers. Is seeking to reverse hearing loss. Not with hearing aids or implants, but with a new kind of regenerative therapy that uses small molecules to program progenitor cells, a descendant of stem cells in the inner ear to create the tiny hair cells that allow us to hear. Nice, it is nice. Thank you. Hair cells die off when exposed to loud noises or drugs, including certain chemotherapies and antibiotics. Frequencies drug candidates is designed to be injected into the ear to regenerate these cells with the cochlea. In clinical trials, the company has already improved people's hearing as measured by tests of speech perception, the ability to understand speech and recognize words. Speech perception is the #1 goal for improving hearing and the #1 need we hear from patients, says Frequency co-founder and chief scientific officer Chris Luce, PhD. You're in love with Kalanchoe succulent plants. The Kalanchoe succulent plant. Is that yours, the one that you've named? I forgot what you named him. I remember you were talking about a plant that you named, though. You have to forgive me. My memory is sometimes not the best for names. In Frequency's first clinical study, the company saw statistically Because of your deafness in your right ear, you've had tinnitus for years. It's irritating. It is pretty, tendinitis. Unless you did mean tinnitus, but those are both very annoying. I've had a small amount of tinnitus every now and again. The company saw statistically significant improvements in speech, perception. You did mean, okay, cool. In some participants after a single injection, with some responses lasting nearly 2 years. The company has dosed more than 200 patients to date and has seen clinically meaningful improvements in speech perception in 3 separate clinical studies. Oh man, that's difficult to deal with. Jeremy, I'm sorry about that. Moss, you don't need to apologize. I get it. It's cool. Now, Frequency is recruiting for a 124-person trial from which preliminary results should be available early next year. They believe they're making important contributions towards solving a problem that impacts more than 40 million people in the US and hundreds of millions more around the world. Hearing is such an important sense. You took a picture of a plant you wanted in Walmart. A very beautiful succulent growing red flower buds on a few areas. You named your future plant Sully. I remember that. Sully the succulent. I remember now. I do hope you'll find your Sully someday soon. Sully the succulent. They believe they're making important contributions towards solving a problem that impacts more than 40 million people in the US and hundreds of millions more around the world. Hearing is such an important sense. It connects people to their community and cultivates a sense of identity, says Harvard MIT Health Sciences and Technology affiliate faculty member Jeff Karp, who is also a professor of anesthesia at Brigham and Women's Hospital. I think the potential to restore healing will have enormous impact on society. Okay. That one was pretty long, so I'm going to cut that one short. But here is our next one. You know of 2 Sullys. Oh, that's beautiful. I've never met someone named Sully, but I know of a character named Sully from the Uncharted games. That's my only connection to that, really. It's going to take off. Oh, well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for showing up. You have a lovely rest of your night, okay? I'm glad you can make it for a little while. It's good to have you. An Airbus jumbo jet just completed 2 flights powered by cooking oil. That's insane to me. Cooking oil. I mean, I suppose that's better than standard oil. I guess it's hard for me to tell. Having recently had time on its 15 years of service, an Airbus A380 just completed some trial flights powered by cooking oil. The largest passenger jet in the world, a double-decker behemoth, just flew a 3-hour intra-French test flight on sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF for short. Hydroprocessed esters and fatty acids, HEFA, SAF's key ingredient, are definitely not what your doctor would label as a healthy cooking oil. But for powering the Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engine on board, it proved successful on March 25th on a French flight from Toulouse to Toulouse, and in a second one March 29th from Toulouse to Nice. What is Sully from Monsters, Inc.? Oh, you're right, Sully from Monsters, Inc. And the other one is a TV show about the woman doctor. I can't remember her name. I don't know that one, but you're right, from Monsters, Inc. That's true. I hadn't thought of that. Far from being an introductory step, Airbus craft are already certified under both the FAA and the European Aviation Safety Agency to fly commercially with a blend of 50/50 SAF, and kerosene. Nevertheless, the company hopes to achieve 100% SAF authorization by the end of the decade. Increasing the use of SAF remains a key pathway to achieving the industry's ambition of net zero carbon emission by 2050, said Airbus in a statement. First, getting paint jobs in 2006, the A380 wasn't as successful as the company had imagined, and the $25 billion total investment, or euro, was never recouped over the 251 unit sales Airbus managed. However, the 853-seater aircraft completed 800,000 flights over 7.3 million block hours, with no fatalities and no hull losses. Wow, so it's a pretty sturdy thing then. They're also using the discontinued craft to test out 3 new experimental green hydrogen propulsion systems. Wow, I mean, like the pink jet cells that make the pink jet engine roars and stuff. That sounds great. SAF is more or less finished as a technology and requires little adaptation aboard existing passenger jets. Hydrogen, however, would provide a much greater reduction in flight emissions, something the Airbus brass are very interested in investigating. I strongly believe that the use of hydrogen, both in synthetic fuels and as a primary power source for commercial aircraft, has the potential to significantly reduce aviation's climate impact, Guillaume Faury, chief executive for Airbus, said in February. Let's check it out. Here, let me turn this down.
Certification tests of the A380 aircraft. On top, we also used it to test the engine on the A350. And now our plan is to take this aircraft and modify it into a hydrogen propulsion flight laboratory.
My gosh.
Our ambition is to take this aircraft and add a stub in between the 2 rear doors at the upper level. That stub will have on the end of it a hydrogen-powered
I'd like to fly in
turbine.
this at some point.
And
It's a cool looking
inside the aircraft
plane.
There will be hydrogen storage and hydrogen distribution, which will feed this engine with hydrogen. The aim of this
Dr. Mike,
flight
I don't
laboratory
think
will
I've
be to
seen
learn
that
a
one,
huge
Moss.
amount about hydrogen propulsion systems in real ground and flight conditions. And this is key in enabling us to achieve our ambition of having a zero-emission aircraft in commercial service by 2035. We're now inside the main deck.
My
of the
gosh, look at
A380.
this thing.
You can see that this main deck looks very different than for an aircraft carrying passengers. That's because it's a flight test aircraft.
Yeah, this isn't meant to be carrying really anybody. This is meant for
This
equipment and nothing else.
Hydrogen tanks. They'll be located
Liquid
around this
hydrogen,
position.
wow.
They'll be surrounded
What does
by a
liquid
hermetically
hydrogen look
sealed
like?
container, and the distribution system will take the liquid hydrogen from this location up to the engine, which I showed you would be located at the rear on the outside of the aircraft. You can see that this size of aircraft gives us a huge amount of flexibility in terms of what we want to install in the different locations. It's also an aircraft which will allow us to evolve the storage and distribution and propulsion system over time so that we can prepare for a commercial entry into service by 2035. There will be a huge amount of instrumentation and sensors.
My gosh,
around
look at all this.
hydrogen storage, distribution, and hydrogen engine. That data is going to be really important to allow us to learn about how these systems function in ground and flight conditions. That data will also be relayed back to the flight test station. This is one that we see here that will need to be adapted for the specific test.
The TV show is called Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Oh, I've never heard of that, but that's cool.
Operate the tests in real time during the flight. The data will also be transferred through telemetry into a ground test station where the data will be surveyed and the flight test will be managed. We're now in the cockpit. As you can imagine, the pilots have a hugely important role during the flight test campaign. So
Look at
much
all
so
those
that, in fact, the cockpit
control
will be
panels.
slightly modified. to manage and monitor the hydrogen propulsion system in flight. Over here there'll be a throttle which the pilots will use to change the amount of power which the engine, the hydrogen engine, will be operated at. And on top of that there will be a display which will allow the pilots to monitor the different key parameters
Look at all
of the
this
system
stuff.
during ground and flight operations.
I'm sure it's not
think you
as
can see that
complicated
this
as it looks
flight
like, but it
test
certainly
campaign,
is complicated
even
in
on
my
the aircraft
layman's
is
view.
going to be a lot of teamwork, requiring a lot of teamwork between pilots.
I know,
flight
Wolf.
test
It
engineers,
is very
and flight
complicated
technicians.
looking.
On top of that, there's going to be another level of teamwork required in order to deliver all of the equipment, all of the ground test benches and systems that are required for a successful completion. I'm really excited to be working with my colleagues at Airbus and all of the partners who are involved in achieving this ambition. It's a really important step for us on our journey to a zero-emission aircraft. And I'd
Teamwork.
like to
I know,
thank
teamwork.
everybody for their involvement so far and for their motivation to achieve the next steps.
Wow. So I don't really... Your dad used to be a pilot for a commercial airline. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I've met a couple of people. A captain. Wow. Captain Moss. Hey, hey, hey. No one talks to Captain Moss in a way that Captain Moss don't like. Alright, so here's our next good news story. There's this like spot on my floor that is, there's like a chip missing in the wood, so it's catching my sock over and over again. That's very annoying. Okay. Metal detector left him stunned after unearthing ancient ring belonging to the Sheriff of Nottingham. Lordy Lou. A 350-year-old ring belonging to the very own Sheriff of Nottingham is set to fetch thousands at auction after being unearthed by a metal detectorist in a find worthy of Robin Hood. The ancient high-carat gold signet ring was uncovered by chance by a lucky detectorist on farmland in Rushcliffe, Nottinghamshire, last summer. The treasure once belonged to Sir Matthew Jennison, who served as High Sheriff of Nottingham between 1683 and 1684, the one-year reign, and looked after trees in Sherwood Forest. His family were known for gleaning wealth from a hoard of valuables left in their safekeeping during the English Civil War, which were never reclaimed. The ring, which displays the coat of arms of the Jennison family, was sent to be examined by experts from the British Museum's Portable Antiquities scheme. Once it was verified as authentic, it was sent back to the finder, who is now set to make a good amount from his incredible discovery. Gonna sneak a bite from your sister's snacks. Oh, lordy Lou. The historic ring is expected to fetch between 6,000 and 8,000 British pounds, which is like 7,800 to 10,500 USD, when it goes under the hammer at Hanson's auctioneers. The find has been described as one the legendary outlaw Robin Hood would have loved by auctioneers ahead of its sale. Hanson's consultant valuer Adam Staples said, "The ring has survived in near perfect condition, and the front face bears a detail engraving of the Jennison family arms, two swans, separated by a diagonal bend. This would have been pressed into melted wax in order to seal the family crest on important letters and documents. As a boy, I wandered through Sherwood Forest, daydreaming of Robin Hood and his legendary adversary, the Sheriff of Nottingham. The ring we are selling is related to a later sheriff, as tales of Robin Hood emerged in English folklore as early as the 13th and 14th centuries. Nevertheless, this find still evokes those memories and gives us a glimpse back into Nottinghamshire life during the turbulent times of the 17th century. Born in 1654, Sir Matthew was knighted in 1683 and acted as a commissioner to examine decaying trees in Sherwood Forest while serving as High Sheriff of Nottingham. Sir Matthew was elected to Parliament as MP for Newark in 1701, but eventually fell foul of the law. He died in Fleet Prison in 1734. Originally from County Durham, the Nottinghamshire branch of the Jennison family first appeared as alderman of Newark in 1580. Feels well seen, oh gosh. Thereafter, each generation served as aldermen, and after the 1626 charter, as mayors. Adams added, though the family business had been in apothecaries, local legend has it that the Jennisons gleaned great wealth from valuables left in their safekeeping during the Civil War, which were never reclaimed. This theory was seemingly corroborated when a buried hoard of Civil War silver coins was unearthed from the very same field where the ring was found. It's such a pleasure to be involved with the sale of this ring. Oh, lovely. Absolutely lovely. Yeah, I don't know much about Robin Hood. It's never been super appealing to me. But I know the names, right? I know the names well enough. But the actual story itself, I'm not the biggest Robin Hood aficionado. In fact, I would barely call myself a layman, to be honest with you. But still, it is a very nice find, I'll say that much. Alright, we'll do one more story and then we'll go into our halfway point break. I think tomorrow, though, I'm going to do a little bit of streaming of me doing some voice acting. I think that'd be nice. Don't sit on me, I've been here the whole time. Well, Wolf, I'm glad you never left. Help? Well, I can do a little bit from here. I can ask Moss not to sit on you. Hopefully they will take my advice. One should not sit on a wolf if they can help it. Unless the wolf consents, which I feel like is difficult to get from a wolf. What do I know? In tribute to his first love, man constructs a wetland home for beavers and frogs. We're often told to follow our dreams. Well, one person in Nova Scotia has done just that after building a wetland paradise for animals in the spirit of his first lost love. In his own backyard, no less, the 8-water features which Robert Perkins dug into the ground are now a sanctuary for herons, frogs, snapping turtles, and beavers. In the middle of suburban development. In 1974, Perkins, let me move this a little bit. Perkins met a woman whom he calls Rhonda on the sidewalk. And the two of them hit it off. They both loved animals, and she always dreamed of having a place where they could live in harmony with the land. Rhonda, whom Perkins... Oh, well, I'm not going to read that part. After her passing in 2006, Perkins resolved to forge an earthly paradise where her spirit could dwell in peace. Renting an excavator and ignoring planning departments and neighbors alike, Perkins began digging large holes and trenches for water to flow. Over the course of 9 years, his property went from being a neighborly headache to a haven for wildlife. I've just seen a better way to do it, Perkins told CBC News. When we build our subdivisions, we'll clear all the trees, we'll dry the hills, drive all the water down the lakes, all the pollution, and the beavers will hold it back and filter it. Wetland habitats of all sorts are not only magnets for wildlife, but probably offer the most complete package of ecosystem services, including preventing erosion, sequestering carbon, enriching the soil, and supporting game populations. I think beavers are so interesting the way they dam stuff up. Flooding in straitened canals or waterways can often occur in mere minutes and be incredibly damaging. Natural water features slowly overflow, dumping water in more even and random distributions around them. This serves to greatly increase the amount of rainwater an area can take before flood problems arrive, and also to irrigate large sections of forest and meadow that might dry up without the ponds, rivers, and marshes. Perkins bought the land and did it himself, but when building backyard water features, it's important to consider the soil characteristics. Rocky soil drains fast, while soil rich in clay will act as a natural sealant, aggregating soil particles together and preventing damage. He said he doesn't need to wonder what Rhonda might think of the place. He feels her presence whenever he walks alone among the trees, the reeds, and the ponds, looking at birds, beavers, or reptiles, and listening to the songbirds and frogs. Sometimes it's painful, said Perkins, but I couldn't walk away from her. If I'm here, she's here. It's very sweet. Well, you guys, I am going to take a little break for 5 minutes, so we'll have 5 minutes to be on break, and then when we get back, we will continue once again. Alright, folks. Let me get my little timer showing. Where's my little timer? Oh, I don't have it here, do I? Well, be right back, folks. And we're back. I hope that you had a lovely break, you guys. I am happy to start another good news story. However, we will also be watching an animal video in the meantime. So let me put something on for you, okay? Where is that little background? There it is. Thank you very much, Wolf. So we have a special request for a certain animal that Moss was looking for. We won't get to it though. Hello there, Moss. So we have a couple of videos here. Lovely. Aw, little sweetie pie going to bed. Nonprofit protects more than 1 million acres of rainforest so far this year, all with public donations.
Everything I had, he wanted. He would call me very early.
I really want to see guinea pigs. Oh, we'll see some guinea pigs. In September, a Virginia nonprofit made $500 million commitment to preserve biodiversity, and 6 months later, the Rainforest Trust and its partners have already protected more than 1 million acres of habitat so far in 2022. Let's do guinea pigs. Oh, spa day for the guinea pigs.
The scale proved me wrong.
Oh,
Hi
the little
guys,
pigs.
and welcome to today's video. Today, we have a lot on our plate because Nugget is really hungry.
I know. Since 1988, Rainforest Trust has safeguarded more than 38 million acres of vital habitat by establishing protected areas in partnership with local communities, all through public donations. Studies have showed that protected areas are one of the most cost-effective ways. Oh, Pepper! Hello, Peppers. How are you doing? We've got some guinea pigs in the background while I read some good news. Let me turn this off, actually, because I think we're going to be distracted by the sound. It's a stray pebble. The best pebble, I would say, though, regardless of how stray it is. Studies have shown that protected areas are one of the most cost-effective, you're good, you're making food, well, lovely, ways to safeguard nature and vulnerable indigenous populations. You're a dog. Acres protected this year include projects in Belize, Ecuador, Guatemala, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Woof. Oh, glad you're woofing. In Belize, they worked with partner R.E. Wild to protect the Maya Forest Corridor, where the critically endangered Central American river turtle is the last species in its scientific family. Oh, you had a guinea pig, his name was Granite, and you love the Weeking as well. Yeah, I know Chia would love the Weeding. Or I don't know, maybe it's a love-hate relationship. In Ecuador, they help protect acres in the Baigol Biological and Rio Canande reserves, which contain more than 350 different bird species, the critical Mash Cochrane frog, and the largest surviving population of brown-headed spider monkeys. Listed as one of the 25 most endangered primate species on Earth. In Guatemala, they've protected important habitat for the Guatemala spike thumb frog and endangered Yucatan black howler monkey and Joffrey's spider monkey. In Bangladesh, they helped establish marine protection areas along the Teknaf coast and St. Martin Island, a total of nearly 430,000 acres, home to sea turtles, the critically endangered Ganges shark and staghorn coral, as well as the endangered Irrawaddy dolphin. In Myanmar, Rainforest Trust worked with Friends of Wildlife to establish Zholantong National Park and Mahamang Wildlife Sanctuary for a combined total of over 350,000 acres protected. Most importantly, 99% of the forests protected by Rainforest Trust remain standing today, and the nonprofit is well on its way to protecting 125 million more acres by 2025. Chia loves the week, so I bet. Aw, little tiny beans. All right, I'm into the forest protection. Honestly, I'm super into it, and we actually have a Fortnite related story coming up right now. So, Pepper, I don't know if you've been to this stream before, but in this stream, we just kind of hang out and enjoy the nice vibes, the ASMR, and whatever it is that you'd like to talk about, I'm more than happy to talk about on stream as long as it is wholesome and family friendly. However, we do make forays into more serious topics. Situationally, as long as you have a good heart about it, I'm willing to talk about whatever subject I think you would probably be okay talking about. I trust you. But to begin with, video gamers doing a world of good. Fortnite raised $144 million for Ukraine relief. Your town has Forever Trees growing community and volunteer. Oh, lovely. Who says video games are a waste of time? Game developers are raising money for Ukrainians, both inside and outside of the besieged company, with donations rivaling the grants from the U.S. government. Ahead of the release of their new gaming season, Fortnite developers Epic Games announced that all the proceeds would go to a variety of organizations providing aid and relief to Ukraine, and in the first day they raised $36 million, growing to $144 million in 2 weeks. Epic has said that the money will go to direct relief, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the United Nations, look at that, bud, Children's Fund, and the World Food Program. I just remembered a Chia gift that she posted about Bud. Why is she messing with his hair? I mean, you know, it's just what she wants to do. It's her choice. That's just the grooming that she's doing, right? I wouldn't call it butchering, though. Yeah, I wouldn't use that term myself. Gamers and the video game industry are renowned for being extraordinarily generous, and other game companies are also pitching in millions. Microsoft, the creators of the Xbox, League of Legends developer Riot Games, and Humble Bundle, a company that organizes themed collections of various games at a discount price to help charities, have all announced donations. Net proceeds of these recent sales, totaling more than $26 million, will also go toward Ukrainian relief. Humble Bundle's pay what you want model for their game book, and of course bundles have raised more than 200 million through 12 million purchases, benefiting charities such as Make-A-Wish, One Tree Planted, the ACLU, Girls Who Code, and Charity Water. Notably, the Breast Cancer Research Foundation's record donation belongs to Blizzard Entertainment, makers of World of Warcraft. Sales generated with their Overwatch game, where a premium in-game cosmetic item was available for purchase, reached 12.7 million and was dedicated to the foundation, becoming the largest single donation the charity has ever seen. 1,000 grams? That's a thick guinea pig. So we got a good news story coming up here. I hope you folks are enjoying the guineas. So after this, we have a special video that I have planned for our friend Moss. I hope you enjoy it. Artificial pancreas is revolutionizing diabetes treatment. I never dreamed this would be developed in my lifetime. A sensor that is inserted under the skin to take a reading of blood glucose and then send the information to an insulin pump to adjust body levels. Sounds simple enough. Winter doggo, yeah. In reality, though, this could be a life-changing revelation for 400,000 people living with type 1 diabetes in the UK, where this new artificial pancreas technology has been pioneered. It's the first country where such equipment has been tested, and it's allowing some people to get on with large chunks of day without worrying about their blood sugar levels. Among these is 6-year-old Charlotte from Lancashire, just one of the 200 children now using this new system, and Yasmin Hopkins, 27, from London. I wake up now and I can do a normal day's work or go on a dog walk, interesting, without being concerned, Yasmin told the BBC. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 15 years ago, and along with being disrupted constantly during the day, she was always worried. Developed by the NHS, 875 people have so far received the artificial system, and the results, as part of a long-term trial, will inform assessment conducted by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence about how and where to roll out more of these devices in the future. Oh, I'm glad you like it. But new research presented this week. Here, let me find you another video about huskies. Husky's trying to get a bath for him. You might like the drama in this one. But new research presented this week at the Diabetes UK Professional Conference in 2022 revealed that flash monitoring not only helps to improve blood glucose levels in people with type 1 diabetes, but also has a positive effect on their quality of life. Before I started using a flash glucose monitor, I carried my blood glucose testing kit with me everywhere and would have to test up to 8 times per day. I didn't know that, boss. Wow. Said 25-year-old Olivia, who was diagnosed with type 1 when she was 7. I was needling my finger and testing my blood sugar before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, and before bed, before driving in the car and after driving for 2 hours. Endless testing. Growing up with diabetes, I'd never dreamed that a device like a flash glucose monitor would be developed in my lifetime. And when I first started using one, I couldn't quite believe something so small had such a big impact, she told the NHS. It's helped me have more confidence and improve my mental well-being. It's not a totally automated system, in that the amount of carbohydrates eaten at meals has to be entered into a smartphone app to ensure the insulin levels don't go too high. But Charlotte's parents have said it allowed her to get back to something she loved to do, but hasn't been able to do for some time. Be a kid again. She loves days out with her friends and sleepovers, but we all know that Husky doesn't want to go in the bath. But we had to stop these as soon. I followed them on Instagram. Oh, lovely. As soon as she was diagnosed because other people couldn't manage her diabetes, Angie Abbott, Charlotte's mother, told the BBC, now we can allow her to go out for these social occasions when we're not there. Well, great. Honestly, there's been some good news today. Some good news. If I was capable of owning an animal right now, having an animal companion right now, I would totally adopt Mike. Honestly, I would. Because that boy was very special. Just very special. Some warm tea. Lovely. Oh, what a cutie. Wind and solar generated a record 10% of the world's power in 2021, a victory for the Paris Agreement. Wind and solar generated over a tenth of global electricity for the first time last year. The milestone is more than double the number calculated when the Paris Agreement was signed in 2015. Wind generation rose by 14%, and solar power increased by 23% since last year. Combined, they rose by 17% overall worldwide. Taken together, wind and solar are now the fourth largest source of electricity in the world, with its 10.3% market share. Let's see what else we like to do. Shedding season, cool. Nuclear energy and bioenergy stayed mostly level in 2021, while hydro's share dropped. Together, those three sources were responsible for around 28% of global electricity. 50 countries now above 10%. 50 countries had more than 1/10 of their electricity coming from wind and solar in 2021, up from 43 nations in 2020 and 36 in 2019. Achieving that landmark from the first time were China, which topped 11.2%, Japan, Mongolia, Vietnam, Argentina, Hungary, and El Salvador, which reached 12%. Wow. Significantly, all 5 of the world's largest economies have reached this landmark: the US, China, Japan, Germany, and Europe. Europe leads the way with 9 of the 10. Oh, look at that thing go. 3 countries have exceeded 40% of their electricity from wind and solar in 2021. Denmark, Luxembourg, and Uruguay achieved 52%, 43%, and 47% respectively. Look at that thing go, wow. Roombas are something special. I love seeing them go. They're just like doing their little job, like little tiny robot friends. Just let them go. Let them go and let them do what they want, because all they want to do is clean. Not surprisingly, oil-producing juggernaut Saudi Arabia's electricity is still less than 1% wind and solar, and Egypt and UAE create just 3%. From 2019 through 2021, the Netherlands, Australia, and Vietnam have switched 8% of their total electricity demand to wind and solar, and those sources directly replace fossil fuels. In the Netherlands, the share of wind and solar rose from 14% to 25% in just 2 years, whilst the share of fossil fuels fell from 78% to 63%. In Australia, wind and solar rose from 13% to 22%, whilst the share of fossil fuels fell from 79% to 70%. In Vietnam, the share of wind and solar rose from 3% to 11%, whilst the share of fossil fuels fell from 73% to 63%. If these trends can be replicated next year and sustained, the power sector would be on track to achieve the ultimate goal of global warming reduction as calculated by the UN's IPCC panel for the Paris Agreement, cutting by 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. Alright, we've seen enough doggos for now. Back to the ambience. I hope you guys enjoyed that, though. The report was recently published by Amber, an independent energy think tank that uses data-driven insights to shift the world from coal to clean energy. Well, good for them. I like think tanks. We've just got a few more stories. Lovely. And I hope all of you are enjoying yourselves so far. It's nice to be doing this again. 75 though, episode 75. Certainly something special. 75, feeling alive. Okay. Okay. Mattel releases the first carbon-neutral toys and Tesla Matchbox car made from 99% recycled materials. My air fryer almost exploded? Oh my gosh, what did you do to it? Look up Husky Moon, please. We've seen a little bit of enough for the animal videos just for right now. We'll maybe do more in 15 minutes, okay? We all know that plastic toys may be unnecessary or end up in a landfill, but it's good to know that huge companies like Mattel are now using, we're cooking egg rolls, oh god, are now using bioplastic and making their products more sustainable. They debuted new certified carbon-neutral toys this week from their popular Mega Bloks line for tots, and recently released a Matchbox Tesla Roadster, its first die-cast vehicle made from 99% recycled materials, which is currently sold out. These are moves towards the company's goal to achieve 100% recyclable, or bio-based plastic materials in all of its toys and packaging by 2030. The Mega Bloks Green Town collection for preschoolers is the first ever toy line available at mass retailers to be certified carbon neutral, just in time for Earth Month for new green town building sets are made for helping teach green living strategies to ages 1 and up. Each playset, like the Eco House or Grow and Protect Farm, are made from a minimum of 56% plant-based materials and a minimum of 26% ISCC certified biocircular plastics. They achieved the carbon neutral product certification by purchasing carbon offsets, less than 500 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents, from the Darkwood Forest Conservation Project in Canada. Packaging is created with 100% Forest Stewardship Council certified paper or paperboard, plus soy-based inks and water-based varnishes to enhance recyclability, says the company. Mattel also launched Barbie Loves the Ocean, its first fashion doll line, which includes curvy and diverse dolls made from recycled ocean-bound plastic. The Fisher-Price Baby's First block and stacking rings, made from plant-based plastics, and the first fully recyclable Uno deck with without cellophane packing materials, as well as 3 previously released Mega Block sets made from bio-based plastics. Wow. Future products designed to have much less impact on the environment include new Matchbox EV models from brands like BMW, Nissan, Honda, and more products designed for recyclability, such as those with easy-to-remove and recycle e-waste electronics in their new recycling truck and other toys. Mega and Matchbox are also part of an innovative toy take-back program called Mattel Playback, launched last year in the US, Canada, France, Germany, and the UK, designed to recover and reuse valuable materials from old Mattel toys. Absolutely lovely. Yeah, I remember I used to play with, I think they were big Legos, right? Maybe they were whatever ones we had in the kindergarten I was in. My kindergarten teacher was pretty mean. She had negative things to say about me, which, I mean, is pretty messed up considering I was like 5 years old or something, but she didn't seem to like kids very much, which is a fairly bad place to have someone like that, but she was old then, so I guess we don't have to worry about her anymore. Vancouver couples convert their huge resort property into a Ukrainian refugee home for dozens. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, we're going to have some actual video for this too. So I'll put the video up. Owners of a nature resort in British Columbia have put renovations on hold to open up the stunning 81-acre property exclusively for housing Ukrainian refugees. With their goal of hosting 100 people, the owners and operators of the Gruz Nest on Vancouver Island see the fleeing masses as equivalent to their own people, since Brian's family comes from Ukraine. We've got 19 people booked to be coming in about 2 to 3 weeks, Brian told Global News Canada. We're in a position, in a place, in a time where we could help make a bit of a difference. And I thought, it's time to stand up and be counted. Oh, a drop kicker. I'm fairly certain old age has already done that, but I guess I can't assume anything, but she was probably in her late 50s, early 60s by then, and she was mean enough that she's probably not either worrying about anything or doing well 23 years later. So I can't say for sure, but it's my guess. She probably doesn't have to worry about anything right now, though. Probably not having any problems at all. And wow, the 15,000 square foot resort, which they were renovating into an event space and gallery, is nestled into a beautiful pine forest and surrounded by a crystal clear lake. The Holloway Shucks decided to even reverse some of the work in order to ensure a livable space for as many people as possible. Some local contractors volunteered to help as well. They've renamed the Gross Nest property Ukrainian Safe Haven and are now leasing the property for $1 a year to a new organization which a local law firm, McConnon, Bayan, O'Connor, and Peterson, helped format into a 501c3 nonprofit free of charge. Ukrainian refugees will be provided with food, education, transportation, and assistance with the settlement process to help families get back on their feet. They are invited to stay as long as they like. For those who want to help, the Ukrainian Safe Haven is accepting donations and volunteer support on their website. I don't want you person, I want good news. I think this is mostly people talking, which I don't care about. There we go. Okay, cool. I don't want to see anything crazy, though. I don't want to see anything crazy. Sounds okay looking to me. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 news stories left. I think we can make that in a half hour. Lovely. Okay. Tiny Yorkshire Terrier detects breast cancer in woman jumping up and down on her chest in alarm. Oh my gosh. How would it know? A Yorkshire Terrier saved her owner's life after jumping up and down on her chest to alert her to a cancerous lump. 11-year-old Pooch Bella Boo wouldn't settle in her usual sleeping place and kept trying to lie on Karina Kirkdrain's chest despite being pushed away. The dog's odd demeanor continued over the next 3 weeks, and she even started to cry. When she wouldn't stop weeping, it left Karina concerned about her health, but baffled vets confirmed she was fit and healthy. Karina called it a heartbreaking cry and thought the dog was obviously trying to tell me something. She continued licking and hopping on the 53-year-old's chest. Bella started bouncing on me, and at one point I actually thought she bruised me as I was sore there. And I was feeling around and actually felt a lump, and I was thinking, is that a lump inside? Then the doctors confirmed it was breast cancer. The Blackpool, Lancashire woman then underwent life-saving treatment and believes the disease would have been missed if it wasn't for Bella Boo's actions. I have no idea how that dog could do that. I didn't think dogs could detect breast cancer. I thought it was a load of hoo-ha, really, but this proves that they can. I'm just so lucky to be here. Little Bella Boo saved my life. Bella always slept on the back of my legs, but she kept laying on my chest. Every time I took her off, she'd crawl back on again. The doctor said the cancer had spread to her lymph nodes, and Karina thinks that's why Bella was getting more determined, because it was spreading. After the whole ordeal, the woman traveled around the world, having realized how lucky she was to get her diagnosis early enough. I didn't believe in that type of thing. I didn't believe that dogs could detect cancer. Once I got the cancer removed, she stopped straight away, and she started lying behind my legs again. Karina now urges pet owners to pay attention to their strange behavior in the future. Maybe if people see their dog start acting strange, they'll be able to think twice about it. People underestimate dogs and cats and all animals, but they are amazing creatures. Hey, I mean, I just had an experience like that yesterday, honestly. Just yesterday, I was hanging out with like a therapy dog, and it was extremely powerful for me, so I am not going to be the person to say, oh, well, you know, dogs don't matter. They definitely matter, in my opinion. They have some powers that we don't understand yet. Oh, I don't know if I told you about that Peb. Yeah, Peb, I spent about 25 minutes with a therapy dog, essentially, named Mike. I was sitting in the backyard of the animal shelter, And Mike was just out there, and when I walked out, cancer has a smell, I believe it. I walked out, and he immediately, like, put his paws on my pants and, like, leaned himself up and, like, didn't jump completely, but he was on me and leaning against me. And he just looked into my eyes and waited. He didn't do anything or bark at me or scratch me. He just waited there. You know, his paws on me, but his claws not really digging into me. And he kept doing that until finally I sat down with him for a little while, and he nuzzled up against me and leaned into my stomach and put his head under my armpit. And we just sat there, and I just held him for a good 20 minutes. And it was a magical experience. It made me very emotional. And I've never really experienced that before, but that is the power of a very, very good dog. And I've never had that kind of gentle affection from anything before. And it changed me for the better. I think that everybody should experience that, and I think if you haven't, then you're missing out, because animals that are very loving and very tender and kind, they offer so much, and they don't require anything in return. Just that you hold them. That's all they want, is for you to hold them. They want you to be happy. You're gonna go hug your cat now. Yeah, go for it, please. Don't take your animals for granted, because they just wanna love you and be loved. That's it. So we have a few more stories left. Pluto has giant ice volcanoes that could hint at existence of an underground ocean with life. That's crazy. As spacecraft New Horizons recently sauntered past Pluto, images sent back to Earth made their way into the hands of a team that confirmed a large part of the dwarf's planet's surface was molded by ice volcanoes, and some eruptions are fairly recent on the Cosmos calendar. The findings provide much more detailed evidence about volcanoes on Pluto, and suggest that with all the ice contained there, heat from the planet's core could maintain a subsurface ocean, a feature known to exist on other planets. The idea conjures images from the mythology or fantasy fiction, a frozen world where volcanoes belch liquid nitrogen and ice, and where underground, close to the pressures and heat of the world's heart, a vast ocean lies in total darkness. See Las Paz. Ice volcanoes are known from other worlds like Enceladus, the ice moon of Jupiter, but not like this. 180 miles of Pluto's surface is ice formed from H2O, under which could be a liquid water ocean, according to some existing models in which such a scenario is possible. Back on the surface, nitrogen ice sits at a temperature much closer to its melting point, even in the frigidity of Plutonian weather. In those conditions, scientists looking at the pictures from New Horizon posit that an area of hammocky texture and large rises and mounds located southwest of the famous Sputnik Planitia nitrogen ice sheet was formed by volcanoes. Sorry, you're just missing your dog. I'm so sorry, Moss. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. That's my bad. Is this just a picture that's been unedited? What is that blue stuff? Do you guys see that? Why is there blue stuff underneath the surface? Is that added, or is that just how it looks on Pluto? Because it's crazy. There's no way that isn't added in, right? That has to be added in. Because if that's just how Pluto looks, then Pluto is insane. There's just these giant veins of glowing blue under the surface. It's the Smurfs. My God. We found them. Central in this area are two volcanoes known as Right Mons, which climbs 13,123 to 16,404 feet, and Picard Mons, bigger than any land volcano on Earth, at about 229,965 feet. The two span an area more than 200 miles wide. Holy moly, that's a big volcano. Cryovolcanoes work exactly like hot ones here on Earth, where heat and pressure force subsurface material, in this case H2O ice, up to the surface to reshape the terrain. In this case, it's almost exclusively water ice, since the freezing points of nitrogen, methane, and ammonia, other chemicals present on Wright and Picard Mons, are much lower than normal water and can only be achieved on the surface. Below ground, they would certainly melt. Considering those low temperatures, why and what would a Wright Mons eruption look like? A viscous flow of either slushy or solid state, but still mobile material. They're talking about the supercritical between slushy and ice. If you guys have heard of that, it's alright most of the time. You're okay with it. Well, good, Moss. I'm glad that you're doing okay despite that. Can you imagine that, like, liquid ice flowing like lava down this side of the volcano? That's insane to me. But I mean, that's how it happens. It's such a supercritical position in the temperature scale that literally the ice flows in this strange slush down the sides of the volcano. That's insane to me. Does that mean there's ice obsidian? Gosh. Right, Peb? Right? I never knew that was possible. They also note that the unique topography of the region is free of any large impact craters, suggesting a much more recent geological period created these mountains, perhaps 100 to 200 million years ago. All things considered, that would mean that subsurface liquid water, an ocean, could still be there today. I wonder what would hurt more, ice lava or fire lava? Oh boy, I mean, if you get near close to any of them, they'll destroy you. Because ice lava will probably freeze you if you got too close to it, and fire lava, you will actually combust if you get too close. Like, you'll spontaneously, like, your clothing will just set on fire because of the heat, and you'll start getting, like, burns just from being close, like sunburns almost. And any planet with liquid water has the potential to host life, like a liquid water ocean present on our world was the place where life first began. Fire lava. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, being frozen solid or being melted, I don't know which is worse, but they both sound terrible to me. I don't know if I'd rather find out that myself. You'd rather freeze. I don't know, Peb. I think we're going down a dark topic that I'm not quite certain I would want to do Would You Rather, but I don't know. It's a bad way to go either way. Either way, I'm not into it. It's not a good decision between the two. Screening for breast cancer might soon use simple blood tests following milk discovery. I don't want to start an I'd rather. Would you rather does not usually lead anywhere, but thank you for the pupper. Would you rather, me freeze too. I appreciate that. Breast cancer screening could be done via a blood test in the future following a major breakthrough. Scientists say a simple blood test for women of all ages could one day be possible, making mammograms history, because a new set of protein biomarkers was identified by using human breast milk. Study lead author Danielle Whittam, a doctoral candidate at Clarkson University in the state of New York, said, "Although mammograms are a useful tool for catching breast cancer early, they aren't typically recommended for low-risk women under 40. Because the biomarkers we found in breast milk are also detectable in blood serum, screening could potentially be done in women of any age using blood or breast milk. The newly identified biomarkers are for a specific type of cancer called invasive ductal carcinoma, one of the most common types of breast cancers. Wow. However, the researchers say that their approach could be used to identify biomarkers for other types of breast cancer too. If our future studies are successful, it could change how women are monitored for breast cancer and aid in earlier diagnosis, adds Whittam. Gosh, could you imagine just going in? It's like, okay, time for your diagnosis. You know, take a little dab, either from the red or the white, and then they'll know. This could even lead to a higher survival rate in women. I think it definitely would lead to that. I'm just going to say that I think it definitely would. You don't even have to say could. For the study, breast milk samples were obtained from 3 women diagnosed with breast cancer and 3 women without cancer. The researchers compared the relative levels of certain proteins between the 2 groups to identify differences in the women with cancer. Their analysis revealed 23 proteins that were dysregulated. All the proteins that showed differences were previously shown to play a role in cancer or tumor development. You hope you never know yourself. Now that a biomarker set has been identified, the researchers plan to confirm it with a larger group of women. Then they will test the protein biomarkers' applicability in blood serum. If those tests are successful, a blood test could be developed to be used on women of any age to monitor protein changes for detection of breast cancer, concluded Whittam. She is due to present the findings at the American Society for Biochemistry and Molecular Biology annual meeting in Philadelphia. Wow. So, we have 4 more left of these. Four more left of these. I think I'm going to find 1 more, and then we'll do that one. Oh, the bees. We'll do it bees. We have a bee story. You know I love me some bee stories. Okay, you guys. Here come the bees. Bees are cute. I cannot agree with you more. Stingless bees bring life back to the Amazon with medicinal honey and new income. While the rest of modern civilization gets honey mostly from European honeybees, indigenous tribes in Peru slice off the Amazon. A slice of the Amazon gets theirs from stingless bees, which seems way smarter because you don't have to wear a suit, you just hang out with them. But it's more than just smart. It's absolutely essential for people like the Cucamiria, oh gosh, who now use it as food, a source of income and medicine for everything from skin cuts to bronchitis. Now, scientists working with these tribes are beginning to scratch the surface of the full extent the benefits this traditional bee husbandry milliponiculture can have for people like the Cucamiria and the world at large. Bees look better far away than up close. I disagree, actually. I think they're amazing either way. But I see why you'd say that. It's like that wormy. It's the wormy from SpongeBob. You know what I'm talking about. That's a scary episode, but I don't mind, honestly. I like them either way. Scientists such as Cesar Delgado Vasquez at the Institute for Investigations of the Peruvian Amazon. Oh, that episode traumatized you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oof. Working with, yes, the wormy, with indigenous groups as both teachers and learners, teaching them how to keep and raise stingless bees to produce their own honey without damaging wild nests, and learning about the immense value of this liquid medicine. Delgado conducted a field study with 3 separate communities and 4 separate species of stingless bee to evaluate the physiochemical and microbiological characteristics of the honey they produced. They found that the humidity and sugar content didn't change much between honeys, but the analysis of the high-quality chemical contents were identified was able to lead to an increase in the unit price from $3 to $27. With 600 species of stingless bees in the New World, the amount of possible data is immense. Each of these species have different relationships with hundreds of native plant species, and in the same way, honey bought in a store from bees feeding on the pollen of oregano plants will taste different from honey made from clover plants. These pollinator plant exchanges can change the medicinal and nutritional qualities of the honey. Wow! What if you have, like, bees that are, like, sucking on lavender or sucking on, like, some crazy medicine plant? Then you'd have super medicine honey. Oh my gosh. This is like the future is making medicine honey. Holy moly, that's big. That's crazy big. Tribes use meliponine stingless bee honey to treat colds. What if you had bees that were pollinating from aspirin flowers or something? Wow, that's a good one too. You could have aspirin honey, bee honey to treat colds, cuts, and abrasions, skin conditions, upper respiratory tract infections, diabetes. Lavender honey is awesome. Oh, great. Gastrointestinal problems, pneumonia, burns, arthritis, and even cancer. All these effects can be generated or amplified depending on the bee's diet. For example, the honey from bees that fed on the pollen of the Araza plant is being evaluated for anti-cancer properties. My gosh, this is a gold mine. This is the best news of the day. I'm calling it. This is the best news of the day. Delgado has helped teach indigenous communities the most effective ways to husband meliponine bees, using rectangular boxes with easy access to the honey. Half of the states in the Peruvian Amazon now have communities keeping bees. You use honey for sore throat and it works instantly for soothing. It does. Actually, it does. It works almost instantly. For conservation, it's necessary to prevent people from cutting down the trees to obtain honey, as well as to increase production yields. It's also necessary to provide information on honey quality parameters and improve the incomes of small producers or family farming, making it a profitable activity, Delgado wrote in his study. Delgado was the chief author of another paper that found when indigenous communities practiced horticulture or agriculture and kept bees next to their fields, providing they were cropping native species such as camu fruits, their yields would increase a whopping 44%. Meliponiculture is already widely adopted in Brazil and in making its way to Peru. Honey is nice for tea too, hot tea. It's great. It gives the forests, the bees, and the tribes a better chance for surviving through the decades. And that is the last of our good news stories, folks. My gosh, we did it. We got through all of them. Well, I have to say, this is something special. I really liked that last news. It was great. So, I guess we have 15 minutes left before we end the show. It is now time for questions for Cass, I guess you could say. So if you have any questions you'd like, then please let me know if you have something you'd like to ask me for. Oh, nice emote. Thank you for sending that out. If you'd like to ask me any questions, now is the time. Honey is too sticky for you with your ADHD. I get that. You need the non-stick honey if that ever comes out. Consider this a micro AMA. And thank you for redeeming your channel points, Moss. I appreciate it. Modifying a single emote. Set a message in sub-only mode. Oh, lovely. We have never had to use sub-only mode. We will someday, though, I'm sure. And while anyone who wants to ask a question is either thinking about it or typing it... Oh, I see, you were thinking about it. I'll tell you a story. Once there was a young man who didn't quite know what he was capable of. He gave himself not enough credit, not enough time or love or attentions, and instead of looking at what he had already, and thank you for your raccoons, he found that it would be better if instead he simply looked away. In this world, that young man decided that it would be better if he avoided his life altogether as opposed to finding the good things about it and finding ways to live the life he wanted to. The moral of this story is that when you are young, or if you are worried or upset or not able to do what you'd like to do, what matters more than being where you think you should be is appreciating where you are right now. And in the past, this young man didn't appreciate that. He only wanted to be somewhere else. Fantastical, schizotypal fantasies. The sort of thing that you can escape to, but that grip on reality, it thins every time. Some people get so thin that they actually get breaks from reality, which is not usually a good thing. And you have to thicken that cord to come out of that. That's something I had to do. I think it was one day I learned that the real world is exciting and interesting enough that you don't have to go into a fantasy to have fun and to have a good time. Certainly that looking glass can always be there for you if you need it, but more than anything else, you don't need it to be happy and fulfilled. It's always some good fun though, potentially some good fun. Alright, well, if there's no questions, then we will end the show just a little early. So, to begin with, thank you so much to Jeremy from Destrina for showing up. Thank you to my awesome friends, Moss, Rainwolf, Peppers, and also to, oh gosh, you have to forgive me if I forgot anyone else who's been in chat. That's most of them, I think. That's most of them. And anyone else who I forgot to mention. And also, I will put in chat my very good friend, Adarar, who is probably still streaming. Let me go check. You may actually see her. I may actually show the... I don't think I have enough people that show up to actually raid right now, but... Question, okay, go for it, Moss. No, she's not streaming anymore, well... But either way, I will send you guys to her page because she will appreciate being noticed either way, I think. So here you go. Go ahead and follow her and let her know that I sent you next time she's streaming. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. You were watching her stream. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I will answer your question, Moss, and then we'll call it a day. Dwarf, was that your stream? Was that your question, Dwarf? And lovely emotes. No, I'm gonna give myself a little break. We did stream the whole, basically the whole hour and a half today, so it's a good time for me to wrap it all up. It's a good time. For the 2 hours, not an hour and a half, 2 hours. Oh my gosh, I always forget it's 2 hours, not an hour and a half. Well, folks, if that's it, then, you know, it's time. So thank you so much to everybody who has participated today. Thank you to all of my amazing friends out there. Thank you for sticking around, for enjoying yourselves, for hanging out and having a good time. And thank you so much for being such good people. Your support is very appreciated, and every time that I get to hang out with you, I feel like I'm improving myself as a person and improving maybe a couple people out there too. So, you guys have a lovely rest of your evening. Stay safe, rest easy, and take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.